Hey, it's Caressa.
Hey, it's Maddie.
You're not watching the Disney Channel right now.
You're listening to
Dreadfully Twisted. Hello, everybody.
We are back. Dreadfully
Twisted's
Twisted's
back again. Dreadfully Twisted's back. Tell your friends, and family.
Trademark. Well, not trademark, but
It's copyrighted. Because Eminem probably would sue us.
yes, that's true.
But please don't, Slim
Please
Shady.
don't. We love you. All out of love.
That's why we do it.
Exactly.
But I lost my train of thought. I don't know.
It's our 50th episode.
Yeah, it's our 50th episode. And we want to do something special.
Yes, we do.
But before we do that, anything? Updates? Anything?
Nope.
No.
Any paranormal updates?
I haven't checked.
Yeah.
I haven't had time to check. I was about to check it, and then I saw you texted me, and I was like, oh, I gotta go. And I got up, washed my face, because I was getting tired, so I washed my face. And then I grabbed my stuff, and then I left. But I was just like, I haven't checked it.
Yeah.
Because nothing has been happening. So I'm like, I'm going to check it and just waste my time. I don't want to waste my time. So it takes like a good 20 minutes just to look at one day, because I have to swipe back. But I'll let you know whenever I do check.
Yes.
There was something that I wanted to, I don't remember what it was. It was true crime related. I don't remember. It fluttered away. But
It'll come back to you
later,
randomly.
maybe. Right when I'm trying to fall asleep, I'll be like, that's what it was.
That's
Every
what it
time.
was.
Or I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, that's what it was. Because that's been happening to me lately. I've been waking up in the middle of the night just I don't know, thinking about stuff.
We're both yawning.
I'm so tired. This week was extremely draining.
Yeah.
But today is our 50th episode. So we wanted to do something completely different than we have ever done before. And we hope you guys like it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because it's very different, and I was overthinking it earlier, and I was like, this isn't gonna fit what our podcast is. But then my one sister was like, well, your podcast is called Dreadfully Twisted, so the things you're covering is twisted, so it falls underneath the category. And I was like, I never thought of it that way. I was like,
True.
I didn't think of that whenever.
That is so true.
Whenever, because now that I think about The Wizard of Oz had a bunch of twisted themes, and other podcasts that were talked about true crime covered and stuff. So I think it'll be fine. Yeah. But I do want to just start saying that the last episode, when I said that one case was based off of the Corpse Bride, it's not. It's not. If it is, it's very, 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 very loosely based. Yeah. It's something completely different. So I don't know why that guy at that parade told me that it was based off of that, because it's not.
Yeah.
Because whenever you look up what the Corpse Bride is based off of, it is something completely different.
Yeah.
So if you have any idea what we're covering today, we are covering Twisted. How do I want to word this? So it's stories or movies that were based off of twisted stories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
You can start.
So, hint, I'm talking about the Corpse Bride. Because I've watched it. I watched this movie once, probably, to be honest, and I never really. It was whenever I was 10, so I don't remember watching it, but reading about it, I was like, wow, that movie's actually really cool, because it has a lot of different themes in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to rewatch it now.
Me too. I know, me too. I've been wanting to rewatch that too.
So The Corpse Bride is directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp and how do you say that actress's name? Helena?
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter is based off the Jewish folktale The Finger. So it's not based off of that other person. It's based off of Jewish folktale. The film adaptation adds a lot of embellishments and changes to the general tone and messaging of the movie, but the story arc is the same. What happened in The Finger was a man accidentally marries a corpse who then tries to hold him to his vows, but it is eventually decided that the dead cannot be bound to the living, and the corpse leaves the living world. The same framework creates two completely different stories. The Finger is a cautionary tale about taking promises seriously, while Corpse Bride is a dark love triangle about transcendence and learning to let go. In the Jewish folktale The Finger, a young man is out in the woods celebrating his upcoming marriage with friends when they came across a corpse. Because they are in a celebratory mood and thinking about marriage, the young man takes out his wedding ring and places it on the corpse's finger as a joke. Why would you do that?
Why?
Yeah. Whenever I was like looking at this, I was like, why? What was the point?
Why? Literally.
And then he recites his wedding vows, and to everyone's surprise, the corpse rises, claiming him as her husband. The young man and his friends flee. The corpse chases them through the woods, but they manage to escape. Like, why?
Literally.
I don't understand. In Tim Burton's film Corpse Bride, Victor Van Dort, who Johnny Depp plays, is a nervous, clumsy young man. He's in the woods alone after a frustrating wedding rehearsal in which he is unable to recite his vows correctly. He is practicing them, trying to get them right, and places the ring on what he thinks is a twig, but is actually a corpse's finger. The corpse also rises up and claims him as her husband. The change here is subtle but significant. By having Victor simply practice his vows instead of making a distasteful jest, he is automatically a more sympathetic character for the audience to root for. I am sorry. Words are very hard for me this week. Yeah, like, I don't know what okay. It is. It's been all week. I thought it would get better, but it's not. While pogroms ravaged Jewish communities throughout their diasporic history in Russia, the early 20th century saw a particularly gruesome wave of attacks, with would-be brides often being murdered and tossed into shallow graves, still in their wedding gowns. That is horrific.
Yeah.
The Tim Burton movie vaguely retains this detail by having Emily the victim of a serial murderer, but the film's new setting and reimagined characters are of The Finger's implicit meaning. The message of The Finger's happier alternative ending may be to remember the lives cut short by these horrific pogroms, and the Corpse Bride's new setting unfortunately makes this message impossible, even if the characters are beloved and likable. So the marriage in The Finger and the Corpse Bride is until death do us part. So that's like both of those sayings are in both of the story and the movie. In The Finger, the young man proceeds with his wedding the next day, but the Corpse Bride crashes the ceremony, condemning him for taking another bride. She demands their marriage be consummated. When the elders hear that he made a vow to her in front of witnesses, they put a stop to the wedding to discuss whether the marriage is valid. Eventually, they decide that because he had made a prior engagement vow to his living bride, and there has never been a precedent for the dead holding a claim on the living, the marriage is not valid. Tim Burton adds a lot of embellishments to this part of the story. He gives the corpse both a name, Emily, and a backstory to make her more sympathetic and fleshed out character, even if some of the flesh is rotting. That was just a note that I found that somebody said, and I just thought it was funny. He also gives the living bride, Victoria, a more active role. Victor is temporarily trapped in the underworld with Emily, and Victoria tries desperately to find him. Unfortunately, her parents make attempts and marry her off to some gold-digging lord who murdered Emily, which is so ironic.
Yeah.
This raises the stakes that it is more important than ever for Victor to return to the living world to save Victoria from the same fate Emily suffered. It also complicates things by giving Victor and Emily time to bond in the underworld. Not knowing the danger Victoria is in, Victor decides to give up returning to the world of the living, but an elder of the dead discovers that his marriage to Emily is invalid after all. Your vows are until death do us part, he says, but death has already parted you. That's what it says in the movie.
Yeah.
And then Tim Burton also includes both perspectives in the Corpse Bride, like both brides' perspectives. But in the folktale The Finger, the Corpse Bride shrieks in agony while the young man sighs with relief as the elder's decision. The corpse collapses onto the ground, no longer sentient, and the young man proceeds with his marriage to his living bride. He is grateful to have escaped the trouble his misspoken vow almost got him into. In Corpse Bride, things end a lot differently. Victor volunteers to drink poison so he and Emily can be fully reunited in death. They travel to the land of the living to perform the ceremony, but Emily sees that she is about to do to Victoria what had been done to her when she was murdered on her wedding day, and he chooses to let Victor go. Her decisions allows her to transcend death, and she ascends to another dimension of the afterlife. Both the brides are given more agency in Tim Burton's version, and it changes the tone of the story considerably. Victor, Emily, and Victoria are all motivated by love, while the characters in the original seem to be motivated by either convention or carnal desires. Victor is willing to die for Emily, while Victoria will do whatever it takes to find Victor. Emily ultimately chooses to let go of Victor because she has genuine empathy for Victoria. In the original, the audience hopes that the young man will not have to be married to the corpse, but in Corpse Bride, the audience sees the story from both brides' perspectives as well. They understand that Emily is trying to reclaim the happy ending that she was snatched from her when she was murdered, and that Victoria wants to escape a loveless and less likely fatal marriage. And the audience, like Victor, is torn between two women, wishing them both to have a happy ending they deserve. Both stories use the same framework to tell a completely different tale with different messages and purposes. The Finger is a cautionary tale about taking one's promises seriously. It was most likely told with an adult audience in mind, and its primary purpose was to horrify with its chilling premise. Corpse Bride is a charming, dark fairy tale and love triangle about letting go. Its biggest draw is dark but playful aesthetic, and while it's enjoyable at any age, its primary audience is children. Tim Burton stayed true to the folktale that inspired him, but gave it his own flavor and more heartwarming message. And then while the Corpse Bride's original story was intrigued by The Finger, he opted to remove the folktale's religious and ethnic Jewish characters by setting Corpse Bride in Victorian England with characters who are white and Christian. Burton wished to make Corpse Bride a modern fairy tale, so rather than featuring a Levantine population in Eastern Europe, he altered it to conform with the more typical Western European and Christian sensibilities. Corpse Bride is as heartwarming as it is tragic, but the Corpse Bride Jewish folklore and history that inspired it is even more heartbreaking. So that's the little story behind how the Corpse Bride was made, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like so similar, but also like not so similar. Yeah. And it's just like messed up that the reason why Tim Burton chose Emily to be murdered was because in that time period of that story, all those women were getting murdered on their wedding day in their wedding dresses, and it's just like, what the heck's going on?
Also terrifying.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I never looked into.
I've never looked into like stuff like that either. Like I knew about like the Disney princesses. Like I knew those ones were really messed up. Yeah. I know like a little bit, but when I even because hint, if we have enough time, I'm gonna cover some of those. Yeah. So, but I knew like some of those were really messed up, but I never thought to look into other movies.
I know, same.
And be like, what is going on? It's like I'm really excited to hear about yours.
See what we have. Let's see what we have here today.
I love how you went into a British accent.
I don't know if that was Australian or British.
It was like I don't know. The thing about me, I don't know what it says about me, but I can't tell what accents apart sometimes. It might be because I'm American.
Honestly, I couldn't tell until I started watching Love Island.
Makes sense, because like we'll be watching something and I'll be like, Jeremy, what's that accent? And he'll be like, it's this. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was this, because I suck at telling it apart. So I always have to ask him, what accent is that? Yeah. And even with like Supernatural, I'm like, what accent does Crowley have? I'm like, and then he's like, it's Scottish. And I was like, okay.
You know this.
I'm like, how do you know this? Like, how are you so smart? Which also, I'm meeting 5 more people from Supernatural tomorrow, and I'm super excited.
Yes, she is.
I think I'm getting more excited as like time goes on.
You gotta send me pictures.
I will. I'm like so nervous though, because whenever I see DJ calls, I'm gonna be like, "Hi, I love you. I love your podcast." So shout out if anybody likes Supernatural. DJ Qualls has a podcast. It's awesome. It's called Locked and Probably Loaded. If anybody wants to know. Because I love that podcast. I need to catch up on it though.
Yeah.
Because like I have not been listening to podcasts. Anyway, yours. Sorry.
That's okay.
I always get off track.
Okay, this one's about Coraline.
I'm so excited to hear this one.
Coraline.
I do too. I need to watch that movie again too.
I know, same.
We should just have a movie night and just watch all these movies.
Yes, we definitely should. I've seen that movie like 10 times and I can still never get sick of it. Same with Monster House.
I don't know how many times I've seen Coraline. Again, I think the last time I saw it was I was like really little, so
yeah.
It's been a while.
I haven't watched it in a few years. I just watched Monster House this year.
I don't even know what that is.
Monster House?
No.
What?
What is that?
Oh my god, what? Oh my god. What?
Live feed of me being uncultured.
Oh my gosh. My whole childhood. It's so good. Oh my gosh. I don't
think I've ever seen that.
I can't believe you've never seen this. Oh my god, we're watching this.
Okay.
We're watching this. We're having a whole movie night and watching everything.
Has anybody else not seen Monster House? Because I feel like I'm the only one.
I was like shocked. I was like, what? Okay. Let me find.
You're good.
Look at her. She's covered.
Aw. Sorry, I was yawning.
Coraline is undoubtedly one of the most memorable and unique movies, perfect for spooky season. The 2009 movie has haunted children and adults for over a decade, with its unsettling nature sticking with audiences. That is true, because I was literally, as a kid, I was like, I don't know if I'm like disturbed or love this.
Yeah, I think I loved it whenever I was younger. But like more recently, I was looking into like videos and stuff of Coraline and like people, like theories that people put together. And I was like, oh, that's frightening. Like that is not right.
Yeah. Henry Selick adapted the Coraline movie from Neil Gaiman's 2002 book of the same name, but the film's inspiration go far deeper than that. Coraline has connections to folklore. We're taking it.
That's the theme of the episode, yes. Folklore.
Folklore. Yeah. I don't know why I got so excited. I was like,
yeah, because it's like twisted folklore. Yeah. Is that the name of the episode?
Yes. Stop.
Thank you.
Okay, the other mother is one of the scariest characters of all time, drawing inspiration from a short story, The New Mother, by Victorian author Lucy Clifford. Clifford first published the story in a 1882 collection of children's tales called The Anyhow Stories, Mortal and Otherwise.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Why are all of like the children's books, stories, fairy tales, or whatever from the 1800s freaking terrifying?
I don't know. And why are they children's books? They're literally like terrifying for adults.
Because like that's where like the Disney princess ones were from the 1800s. I'm like, what was wrong with you back then? Why are you writing this for children? But sorry, I just had to ask that because like it's so true.
They shouldn't have a whole shelf. How giving children trauma 101. Just put them all in there. Yeah. The New Mother has popped up in different forms, with a re-adaptation even appearing in the popular Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. The story revolves around two sisters who meet a strange girl with a peculiar instrument she calls a pear drum. She holds little dancing people in secrets that the girl only shows to naughty children. When the sisters go home and plan to be naughty, their mom says, "Then I should have to go away and leave you to send home a new mother with glass eyes and a wooden tail."
What?
Okay.
That's terrifying.
Giving children trauma 101.
That is terrifying.
Her warning doesn't scare the children, though, as they remain determined to be naughty enough to see the dancing people. Their misbehavior intensifies after the strange girl assumes no such new mother exists, and they hit their mom's breaking point. After their mom gives up and leaves the sisters, they discover the pear drums dancers disappeared too, leaving the two alone in their empty cottage. They wait for a long time for their mom to return, but instead the new mother comes knocking and scares the girls enough for them to flee into the woods, never to emerge again.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
In Coraline, the young girl's parents work constantly and seemingly prioritize their careers over their child. Her mother, in particular, stands out as she dismisses Coraline in every interaction. She speaks in a monotone voice, rarely looking up from her computer as she talks to the young girl. She even snaps at Coraline, yelling at her for asking simple questions as her mom views her presence as a distraction. Understandably, Coraline feels emotionally neglected by her parents and desperately wants their attention. Unlike the kids and the new mother, Coraline doesn't misbehave to gain anything and rejoices in the attention she gets in the other world. Coraline's uncanny parent alternatives don't have glass eyes or wooden tails. The only difference from her regular parents is a pair of buttons where their eyes rest. Once Coraline begins questioning her surroundings and missing her home, the other mother changes, growing meaner and looking monstrous. Once she transforms completely into her true form, she still doesn't have a wooden tail, but her physical appearance does resemble a spider. Gaiman also drew parts of the story from other places, including his life. A legend spotlights an older woman on the outskirts of Gaiman's home county of Hampshire, UK. Her son and daughter-in-law passed away in a terrible fire, and their newborn daughter miraculously survived, leaving the old lady to take in the baby. As time passed, no one saw the little girl going out to play, as her grandmother kept her locked up and kept her away from their house. And kept people away from their house. Talking and reading is hard, so just saying.
I get it. I mess up all the time.
That earned her the nickname the Bad Mother. Of course, locals began gossiping about the house and its inhabitants. The mystery drew in the village children, who decided to prove their courage by entering the house at night, hoping to meet the girl. But when they made it inside, they didn't find clothes, toys, or any signs of a little girl living there. They only found an old crib with the corpse of a baby lying inside.
What?
The body almost completely burned, buttons in place of the eyes, and seams across its mouth.
What the heck?
This
is a real thing?
Yeah. The little girl never survived the fire, but the grieving grandmother clung to the baby's body like she was alive.
Oh, that's so sad.
Once the kids told their parents, they carted the woman off to a psychiatric institution where she stayed until her death.
That's so sad.
That is so sad. And also that is like so accurate to like, not accurate, but like I could see where Coraline got that from there. It was also absolutely nightmare fuel and traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was like pretty much that was the story that I heard. But in similar interviews about Gaiman's influences, he mentioned his childhood house. When he was growing up, he lived in a house made from a larger house divided into multiple smaller homes. The home had an irregular shape, so some doors in the house were wonky. And Gaiman remembered one specific door that opened to reveal a plain brick wall. Growing up, he would open the door to ensure the wall was still there, as he believed the wall would disappear and a hallway would be there instead.
Uh-huh. That makes sense, though, because like a lot of the doors in Coraline are all like misshapen.
Yeah.
And isn't there a door that opens to a brick wall in Coraline too?
Yep. There was a brick wall where the portal opened up.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the parents couldn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like bricked up. Take it out.
Should I know? That was funny.
Oh my god, okay. I'm dying.
There was a brick in the doorway.
A brick wall where the portal was.
Can't stop laughing. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So.
Okay. Do you have any others?
No, not really. I tried to find a Monster House one, but was like not based on anything.
Okay. So I have some Disney princesses stories. But before I get into the Disney princess stories or the Disney stories or whatever, how you want to call it, I do want to go into a little bit of the backstory behind where the ideas were from. So, like, in a general sense, I mean. So, while the public adored Walt Disney's interpretations of fairy tales, many scholars felt that Disney had stolen and ruined the classic tales. Which is crazy, because, like, the classic tales are terrifying.
Yeah.
It is argued that the Disney films are so appealing and widespread that they should have supplanted the originals. In December's 1965 issue of Hornbook magazine, Francis Clark Sayers, who was a senior lecturer at the School of Library Service, I said library, weird, Department of English, UCLA, said, "I call Mr. Disney to account for his debasement of the traditional literature of childhood and films in the books he publishes. He shows scant respect for the integrity of original creations of authors, manipulating and vulgarizing everything for his own ends. His treatment of folklore is without regard for its anthropological, spiritual, or psychological truths. Every story is sacrificed to the gimmick of animation. Not content with the films, he fixes these mutilated versions in books which are cut to a fraction of their original forms, illustrates them with garish pictures in which every prince looks like a badly drawn portrait of Cary Grant, every princess a sex symbol." That's a quote.
God.
What the heck? Disney had destroyed something which was delightful, which was the expression of the individual mind and imagination. Read the original classics and compare, is what somebody else said in this time. It's apparent that Disney animated versions have become the definitive versions of certain fairy tales that were originally much more horrific and violent, with often unhappy endings. Today, most people accept Disney adaptations as the real story, although there are significant differences to previous adaptations. As Walt Disney told writer David Griffiths in the TV Times of London, March 10th, 1959, quote, "The world's fairy tale literature has created its witches, its evil fairies, its hags, its bad people. Of course, they're repellent. They have to be," end quote. This next quote, I think it's from Disney, but I'm not sure. But, quote, "But in our movie versions of these venerable morality plays, we have tried to keep all the elements in proper balance of entertainment. We have often eliminated of great modified the horrific material and all the classics fairy tale literature." Oh my gosh, talking is hard. "All of the world's great fairy tales, it must be remembered, are essentially morality tales opposing good and bad, virtue and villainy, in dramatic terms easily understood and approved by children. Without such a clash of good and evil and the prevalence of good people, fairy tales like Snow White, Cinderella, Pinocchio, Sleeping Beauty long since have died because they would have had no meaning." Walt Disney told writer Bill Ballantine from Vista magazine, winter 1966 to 67, "Children's classics are always difficult to translate into our medium because people have such preconceived notions about them." Somebody else said that Walt had a knack for stories, finding good ones, spotting weaknesses, changing endings of classics when necessary. He parlayed that talent into building one of the most successful studios in history. So it is important to remember that any alterations Walt Disney made to classic fairy tales are so that the stories would be stronger and more relatable to the audience of his era, were in the tradition of the Grimm brothers themselves. So originally, some of these were written by the Grimm brothers, and some of them was also written by Chris, I think, Hansen, I think. So I guess it is, although I don't know, but anyway, I was going to say something, but I lost my train of thought. In a society that was not literate, information was not communicated but through books, but orally. Often the oral version would continually change to adapt the audience or the storyteller's agenda. Generally, these tales were meant to convey a message to young people about the negative consequences of lying, how looks and charming words can be deceiving, how cleverness and quickness can defeat a physically more powerful foe. Beware of older women and how hard work could cause a rise in status. Basically, these stories were meant to scare children into living the right moral way. So that's why these stories were originally told. Like, it's horrifying, some of the things that they said. The Grimm brothers tried to simply record these stories, but they actually wrote several editions that spanned 1810 to 1857, which is why I said to you, why is it always the ones in the 1800s? And each edition featured new alterations and deletions, often reflecting their middle-class Christian ethos that matched their Protestant beliefs that sometimes significantly changed major plot points. The Grimms meant for these short stories to be for children and families and to record German culture. The word fairy tale in English that was later associated with these stories come from a collection of stories in the French tradition, published by Madame d'Aulnoy in 1697. So that's very old. That really did involve a lot of fairies in the narratives. The earlier oral peasant versions, and peasants in quotes, of the folktales actually promoted lying, cheating, stealing, killing, and anything that would help someone survive and get out of poverty. So the stories really originated from 1697 and all of this stuff, which is crazy. Like, what the heck was going on in the 1600s?
Seriously.
Would never want to go. If we could time travel, I would never want to go back to there.
Nope. Last on the list.
I would go back to maybe the 1800s.
Yeah.
But just to see. Not to
come back.
And then come back. Yeah. Not to live. The stories emphasized that the element of luck was also important. It was later the Grimm versions that became the morality tales known today. Walt Disney's adaptation tried to mirror the American middle-class Christian family culture of his era. Walt said literary versions of old fairy tales are usually thin and briefly told. They must be expanded and embellished to meet the requirements of theater playing time and the common enjoyment of all members' movie-going families. There's some more quotes that I don't really need to go over. There's so many quotes. So, here's a brief recap of some of the original stories of the famous fairy tale princesses from the final 7th edition in the 1857. Keep in mind that the Grimm brothers always kept changing things. For instance, the first version of Snow White in the 1810 edition had the mother, not a stepmother, trying to kill Snow White for fear that her husband might be erotically interested in such a beautiful daughter. It is the father, not some unknown prince who rescues the girl. That's messed up.
That is
so messed up. And this was for children?
Yeah, seriously.
What the heck?
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you for making like the most horrific stories for children to read?
Literally.
Like, they're not going to understand half of this stuff. So, can you guess what the first one is?
Cinderella?
Snow White.
Snow White?
Yeah. In the Grimm version, Snow White's mother dies in childbirth, which is why her father remarries so that his child will have a mother. Snow White is 7 years old when the magic mirror tells the queen that the little girl is more beautiful than she is. She's 7 in this original story.
Oh my god.
What the heck?
7?
Way too young.
Yeah.
The hunter brings back a lung and liver of a deer, not a heart, as proof that Snow White is dead and that the queen cooks and eats them. When she discovers Snow White is still alive, she disguises herself as an old peddler woman and tries to kill the little girl 3 times. First by lacing her up in a corset so tightly that she can't breathe and collapses but is saved by the dwarves. Then the queen devises a poison comb that causes Snow White to collapse when it is stuck in her hair, but she once again saved by the 7 dwarves. Finally, the queen comes up with a poison apple and disguises herself as a farmer's wife. Part of the apple is non-poisonous, so the queen takes a bite from that apple, convincing Snow White to take a bite of the poisonous side. Which would be really hard to poison one side of an apple. Anyway, when they came home, dwarves could find nothing to revive her, and wept for 3 days, and then made a translucent glass coffin for the little girl. They placed the coffin on a mountain, and one dwarf always stood guard because the body did not decay. A king's son came into the forest and saw the coffin and offered to buy the little girl. The dwarves refused, but were eventually convinced to give him the girl. But as the prince's servants carried the coffin, they stumbled and dislodged the bit of apple in her throat, and she returned to life. The prince and Snow White marry at the wedding, and the queen is put in burning red-hot shoes and forced to dance until she dropped dead.
Oh.
Yeah. That was the original story.
Giving children trauma 101.
That's all we can say. Do you want to read the next one, or do you want me to read the next one? It's Cinderella.
Go ahead and read Cinderella.
Okay. It's kind of long, so bear with me here. I actually need to drink water. Okay. Cinderella. Okay, so quick, what's your favorite Disney princess?
Maybe Ariel?
Okay, I'm covering her.
Are you?
Yeah. Mine's Rapunzel.
Is it?
Yeah, I love Rapunzel. I don't know why, I just always have. Tangled has always been my favorite. Like, before that, it was Aladdin. But once Tangled came out, it became my favorite. Like, I don't know, something about Tangled and that story just makes me interested. Yeah, Rapunzel's my favorite princess. Probably hence why I dress up as her all the time. Because I dressed up for her twice this year for Halloween, so... Yeah. So, Cinderella. A rich man's wife fell ill and died, but before her passing urged her young daughter to remain pious and good. In a year, he remarried a woman who had 2 daughters who were physically beautiful but foul and black of heart. It was they who dressed the young girl in rags and made her do housework while they taunted her. Which is so... Why do that?
Why?
Sorry, I just burped. With no bed, the girl lay down by the hearth in the ashes and was called Cinderella. The king ordered a 3-day celebration for all virgins in the kingdom to come so his son could pick a bride. Cinderella was not allowed to go because she had no proper clothes or shoes. The stepmother shook out a bowl of lentils into the ashes and told Cinderella if she could gather them all in 2 hours and separate the good from the bad, that she could go. Cinderella called upon her friends, the birds, to come and help her. The task was completed in 1 hour, but when Cinderella showed the bowl to the stepmother, the woman said they would be embarrassed by Cinderella attending, so she could not come. Why even treat people like this? Seriously. Like, where did you even get this from? Like, what the heck? What is wrong with you? As the others left, Cinderella went to the hazel tree that grew on her mother's grave and had been watered with the girl's tears. When Cinderella wished she could go to the celebration, a little bird appeared and gave her a golden and silvery dress and slippers embroidered with silk and silver. When she went to the celebration, nobody recognized her and thought she was a foreign princess. The prince did not want to dance with anyone else. However, as the evening arrived, Cinderella ran away. The next day, the bird gave her an even more beautiful dress, and once again at the end of the evening, she ran away. On the third and final day, the bird gave her the most glorious dress ever and golden slippers. Also, just want to note, in the original version, she went to the ball 3 times. Yeah. In the Disney version, she only goes once. Yeah. So. As the 2 precious knights, the prince only wanted to dance with her. The night as she tried to run away, the prince had coated the stairway with pitch, and so her left slipper was stuck as she escaped. The prince searched the kingdom for the woman who could fit into the slipper, since small feet indicated royalty. One of the stepsisters cut off her big toe to try to make her foot fit, but the prince discovered the deception. The second stepsister cut off her heel, but that deception was also revealed. That stepmother did not want to allow Cinderella to try on the slipper because she was so dirty, but the prince insisted, and the girl's foot slid into it as if it was poured into it. When the stepsisters attended the wedding, hoping to get a part of Cinderella's new fortune, doves pecked out both of their eyes.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the French version of the story, her slippers were glass because at the time glass was a very rare and highly expensive substance, but by the 1800s, it was common enough for the Grimms to replace it with gold, which was more expensive and rare. Yeah. So in the original version, they cut off their feet and they got their eyes pecked out.
Giving children trauma 101.
Yeah, but that's karma.
That is karma.
Karma.
Karma. JoJo Siwa. Insert JoJo Siwa dance here.
Every time we bring it there. Thanks, JoJo, for the not wanting to actually see any of that. See it.
Literally every time we hear that word, we can't
can't. Like, it's ingrained in my brain because
it seriously is.
I didn't even want to know that, but the universe told me. So the next one is Sleeping Beauty. You know this one?
I don't think so.
Okay. Did you know any of them so far?
I knew the Cinderella one.
Okay. When a beautiful baby is born to a king and queen, a festival is held and the king invites the wise women of his kingdom to attend. There are 13 of them, but since he only has 12 gold plates and utensils, he omits to inviting one of them. The wise woman bestowed the baby with magical gifts like virtue and beauty, but as the 12th was about to bestow her gift, the neglected 13th woman appeared and declared the girl would prick her finger in her 15th year and all fall dead. And fall dead. Not all fall dead. And fall dead. The 12th could not undo the curse, but changed it so that the girl would not die, but fall into 100 years' sleep. The king ordered all spindles burned. On her 15th birthday, the princess was exploring the castle and found a stairway up to an old tower. In a small room at the top, she found an old woman spinning her flax on a spindle. The curious girl touched the spindle that she had never seen in her life and immediately fell into a deep sleep. At the same time, everything and everybody in the kingdom fell asleep as well. A hedge of thorns began to grow around the castle and continued to get larger every year. A myth spread about the sleeping princess, and princes who tried to penetrate the wall of the thorns ended up getting entangled and died. When 100 years had passed, another prince who had heard the myth decided to find the castle and the sleeping girl, and the thorns had changed to flowers when he was able to enter. Okay. I also want to give you a trigger warning.
Yeah.
Because this one, there's a trigger warning for the R word.
Yeah.
So just you don't want to hear that, skip. He found the girl and gave her a kiss, and she woke, and eventually everything and everybody else did as well. The prince and princess married. The original version dealt with the rape of a sleeping woman by a wandering prince who was married, and she was only awakened when she gave birth to twin babies who began sucking on her. The Grimms also immediately removed that plot point and any other sexual reference. So, yeah. So originally it was even more horrifying than what you could even think. Like, what the heck is wrong with you for even putting that in the story?
What is wrong with you?
So there's a couple more. They're shorter. So, yeah. We said yeah at the same time.
Yeah.
So, some other princesses. Not all the stories of Disney princesses came from the Grimms. Like I said, some of them came from Christian Andersen. I don't know why I said Christian Hansen. What was I thinking? I don't know. The story of The Little Mermaid does not come from the Grimms, but from Hans Christian Andersen in 1836. In this story, mermaids do not have souls, and the Little Mermaids hope to gain one through marriage to a young human prince she rescued. The mermaid does indeed make a deal with a sea witch to get human legs, although she has to hack out her tongue with a knife in exchange.
Yikes. Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the Andersen's tale, the prince marries someone else, a princess from a neighboring kingdom who believes saved him when he was shipwrecked. The mermaid can save her life and regain her fins by killing him on his wedding night. She refuses to do so and becomes sea foam, but because of her sacrifice is given the opportunity to do good deeds for 300 years to earn her way into heaven. She does not have a name in this story. So that was The Little Mermaid, which is even more horrific.
Yeah.
The next one is Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast came from a female French writer whose stories often featured lessons on manners and propriety for young girls. The story is sort of an instruction manual for girls facing the prospect of arranged marriages, which are not about love initially, but over time love can develop. The Beast is meant to convey the animalistic nature of sex. In the original story, Beauty... Did you just laugh?
I was like, what?
Yeah. In the original story, Beauty has multiple siblings who are cruel, vain, and selfish. They actually take place of Gaston, who does not exist in the story, as the antagonists. So yeah, that was Beauty and the Beast. The next one's Aladdin. So the original story of Aladdin has the princess being pretty clueless. First, she hands Aladdin's magic lamp over to the evil sorcerer because she doesn't know what it is. She temporarily redeems herself by following Aladdin's instructions to seduce and poison the sorcerer so Aladdin could get his lamp back, but then she immediately invites the sorcerer's even more evil younger brother, who has disguised himself as an old lady, to come live with them in the castle. Fortunately, the genie saves the day. The stories of the princesses have existed for centuries and continue to resonate with modern generations, although they are constantly changing to adapt new audiences. So yeah, those are the Disney princesses.
Well, those are disturbing.
Yeah, let me see if I can find one more.
Okay. One that isn't this, but it's Brothers Grimm.
You want to read it?
Fairy tale. It's like, I'm trying to find like a shortened down version because like all of them are like super long. But
I kind of want to know what the Ugly Duckling is about.
Yeah.
Like we can do like another. Oh, I just found a bunch. The Princess and the Pea. I heard of that one. Oh, is this like the whole story? Oh wait, no.
That's what I'm trying to. I know, like it's like a lot of story.
Wait, I want to read the one about Rapunzel, which is also by the Brothers Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
So Rapunzel itself was first published in 1812 by the Brothers Grimm in one of their first compendiums of tales titled Children's and Household Tales. The plot of Rapunzel is complex. It begins with a couple living next to a large compound consisting of a vast garden and a tower belonging to a reclusive woman. They have little to do with the woman, who we later learn is a sorceress who owns the tower and the garden. But soon the couple finds themselves drawn towards the compound as she becomes pregnant and begins to crave a type of salad green which they spot glowing in the garden next door. The plant is generally believed to be that of the Campanula rapunzelis, a salad green known as the bellflower. Bizarrely, the pregnant woman is adamant that she must eat some of that flower, even though she begins to lose weight, threatening the life of the unborn child. In despair, her husband agrees to break into the sorcerer's garden to obtain some of the bellflowers. On his first foray is successful. He scales the wall of the compound and finds some of the plants before returning home and giving them to his pregnant wife. And now she becomes obsessed with eating them. In the days that follow, he repeatedly breaks into the compound to obtain more and more of the flower until one day he is escaping the compound. The sorceress catches him. This act is the genesis of the myth of Rapunzel. The sorceress now insists that the couple hand over the child when it is born as punishment for breaking into her garden. They begrudgingly agree that the child is indeed handed over in due course when a baby girl is born. The sorceress names her Rapunzel after the plant which her mother was so obsessed with eating, and as she grows up, the sorceress locks her up in a tower within the compound. Then she grows up as a teenager with long golden hair. Then one day, a prince comes through the area and hears Rapunzel singing from the tower. He is entranced by her voice and drawn to see what the source of it is. Eventually, he manages to find his way into the tower, and he and Rapunzel fall in love. They must navigate the ill demeanor of the sorceress, and although the prince attempts to explain the situation to her, and when he does, the sorceress cuts off Rapunzel's hair. She casts her out of the tower and the compound altogether. She is left wandering the wilderness, seemingly helpless, given that she has not known anything other than the tower and the garden for her entire life. When the prince returns and learns what has happened, he throws himself from the tower and is blinded. He spends years thereafter wandering the wilderness, but eventually the story has a happy ending. One day, he is wandering blindingly through the forest. They meet each other, having heard each other singing. When they meet, the prince's sight is miraculously restored, and he learns that Rapunzel has given birth to twins, a boy and a girl, in the interim. The family heads back to the prince's kingdom, where they live happily ever after. Unlike many of the Grimm's other stories, this one starts bleakly and ends happily. So I guess that's good.
Yeah. Definitely not as bad as an outcome as a lot of these.
But I just found this. This feature of all the same elements of the tale Rapunzel, including the prince, the tower, and a maiden with long hair. The tale has wider origins stretching back to the late classical period, as much as the 1500 years before the Brothers Grimm were writing and compiling the information. Notably, the tale of Saint Barbara, a 3rd century Christian martyr who believed had been imprisoned in a tower during Eastern Europe during the 3rd century. More widely, the tale of Rapunzel is indicative of the idea of a maiden in a tower, so much with which suffuses the folklore, which was related to the medieval and early modern periods, not just by the Brothers Grimm, but by other folklorists such as Hans Christian Andersen, which continues to convey to modern audiences through the Disney stories and other mediums today. That's crazy. It was originally based off somebody who was actually trapped in a tower.
I know, literally.
So I'm sorry, I thought it ended happily, but it does not.
But yeah, I couldn't find one, but I could tell you what this is about because I read some of it. Yeah. But this is one of the Brothers Grimm stories called.
They're very grim, aren't they?
Yeah. this one's especially a little wrong. It's called The Juniper Tree, and it's about a man and a woman. And they really wanted a kid, and eventually they had a kid. And the mom, this was thousands and thousands of years ago, so obviously people got sick and would die because they didn't have medicine. And the mom got sick after she had the kid, and she said, bury me under the juniper tree, which is why that's called the juniper tree. Oh. And so what she said, when I die, bury me under the juniper tree. And the man found another woman, and they had a child. So now there's two kids, and they have the stepmother now. And once the boy was like toddler, I don't know how old he was, but he was old enough to be in school or whatever. And the little girl was like, "Mother, can I have an apple?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure, you can have an apple, but wait, you have to wait for your brother." And so here comes the brother into the house, and it says literally, like, as she watched him walk into the house, it was like the devil took her over. And she said, You need to get your own apple. So he went and... Hold on, let me just read this part.
So is the boy her? Is that the stepmother? Is the stepmother of the boy or the girl?
The boy was from the other.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it says, one day the mother had gone upstairs to her room. The little daughter went up to and said, "Mother, give me an apple." "Yes, my child," said the woman, and gave her a fine apple out of the chest. The chest had a great heavy lid with a sharp iron lock. "Mother," the little girl said, "is brother not to have one too?" This made the stepmother angry, but she said yes, when he comes out of school. When she saw from the window that he was coming, like I said, it was just like the devil took over her. She snatched the apple away again from her daughter and said, "You will not have one before your brother." Then she threw the apple into the chest and shut it. The little boy came in at the door, and she said to him kindly, "My son, would you like an apple?" The little boy looked at her and said, "Mother, why do you look so dreadful? Yes, give me an apple." Then it seemed to her as if she were forced to say to him, "Come with me." She opened the lid of the chest and said, "Take out an apple for yourself."
I have a feeling I know this is going.
Yeah. While the little boy was stooping inside, she shut the lid down onto his head. His head flew off.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
I need to take my glasses off for this.
She was overwhelmed with terror and thought, if I could but make them think that it was not done by me.
What is wrong with you?
Why is that your first thought?
Right?
What is wrong with you before, but what is wrong with you now? Like, what is wrong with you? Oh my gosh.
But on a side note, we got twisted in here, and then we got dreadful, so it's dreadfully twisted in here.
Yeah, it really is. Oh my god, I forgot about this part. Oh god.
Read it.
"Be quiet and let no one know. It cannot be helped now. We will make him into a stew."
Whoa!
The mother took the little boy, chopped him in pieces, put him into the pan, and made him into a stew.
What the heck? What is wrong with you?
The little girl was literally standing there weeping.
As, yeah?
Yeah. Literally, I mean, like, literally, why is she... She's literally watching all this happen. That's literally so messed up. I can't even... Years of trauma.
And this was the Brothers Grimm story?
Yeah.
What is wrong with these guys?
They're really messed up.
Are you psychopaths? Well, you're not alive now, but were you psychopaths?
Seriously.
It's like, how can you even think of some of this stuff?
Oh my gosh. I can't even. And then the stepmother said to people that he went across country to his mother's great uncle. He was staying there.
What the heck? Like, what was the point of that story that you would tell children? Children's Trauma 101.
Children's Trauma 101.
That's really what we need to name this episode.
It's like, oh, the juniper tree. That sounds like a cute story. You're like, what is happening?
Like, at first I was like, oh, that's cute. She just wanted to be buried, underneath a juniper tree. And then it goes into her son being brutally murdered by his stepmother.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? They really have some messed up stories.
Yeah. So, let us know if you guys like this installment of the Twisted Folklore stories. Because we want to do something different, and I honestly was not feeling true crimey this week.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really feeling paranormal.
Yeah.
So
this was a perfect episode.
In between, yeah. Okay. So let us know if you liked it. If you didn't, I'm sorry you had to listen to us. But you should like it anyway. We're funny.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, if you wanna yeah. Where was I going with that? So if you want to give us feedback on our social media pages, you can go there, subscribe, follow, share our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dreadfully Twisted Podcast. If you want to send us your stories, true crime or paranormal stories, or anything that you want us to cover, please send it to our email at dreadfullytwistedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can comment on our Reddit page or /dreadfullytwistedpod. You can listen anywhere you listen to podcasts. So please listen, share us with family and friends. Yes. Go on to those platforms and subscribe, follow, rate us 5 stars. And yeah, we really appreciate it. It really does help the podcast get out there. We love to give you guys this content, and we like to tell you all the information that you want to hear. Because it's dreadfully twisted in here.
It is.
And yeah, we love you guys. Please keep listening. Please share us. Please keep doing all that. We really appreciate it. And give us your feedback. Please email us your stories, true crime stories that you've been through. If you came across a serial killer, let us know.
And your ideas, stuff you want us to
your
cover.
Ideas.
Send us those. If
you have any ghost paranormal stuff happening in your house, or anything that you've experienced by going to any cemeteries or anything like that, please share with us. We really want to hear that. So yeah, and we hope you keep listening. We love you.
We love you.
Stay positive.
Be a good person.
Look out for your friends.
Don't be like the people that we cover on this podcast.
Yes, and don't give children trauma 101. Stay away from that.
Yeah.
Give them happy things.
Give
101.
Them a Duck Duck Goose book or something.
What if that came from something terrible?
Oh God, now I'm scared.
Okay. Yeah, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.